First, I'd like to call on Martin Frick, Deputy Special Envoy to the Food Systems Summit. Martin, are you there?
I'm here. Thank you. Can you hear me?
I can, yes. Go ahead, please.
Well, I've been listening in one of the breakout sessions, and I couldn't help smiling because it was very much about the difficulties in breaking down silos. And I think all of the Secretariat team has a bit of experience by now in trying that. And you know, the old saying goes, everybody wants coordination and nobody wants to be coordinated. And that also rings true for everybody wants silos to be broken, but when you start breaking silos, people will tell you, 1,000 reasons why it's so good to stay in silos. So our facilitator and, the breakout session ended too fast, but you know whom I'm talking about. It was in the horticulture sector, made the perfect points. And she said, to break silos, you need to have the trust. And, building trust is not something that you do overnight. It is just being constantly a reliable partner, walking the talk, putting out what you do, doing exactly that, inviting at every single moment people in. And, as all of you know, we have not an easy time with a part of the civil society, but I think we are slowly getting to this point where we are being perceived as what we really are, as an independent platform to put out these discussions. And I encourage you to continue with that. And I want to acknowledge the fantastic work you have been doing for that. And the second point is time. I mean, I couldn't relate more to that. There's only X many hours a day you can put in, and everything that is inside your silo also already keeps you perfectly busy during the entire day. And finding the extra time for that is really difficult. And I think the key word, and that was just at the end of this breakout session I heard, is demand driven. We need to have the demand, we need to create the demand for the solutions we want to have. I've seen that in many years in the climate world, where a big part of activists came out with the solutions before people even understood what the problem is. If we want people to change, if we want to change consumer behavior, if we want CEOs to take the right decisions, if we want farmers to adopt the right methodology, then we have to create a demand and a perspective for that. And I think this is something that's slowly coming together. It's not least a function of COVID that people have a feeling for the overall vulnerability, but also for the role in food systems in that. So I think we got a tremendous opportunity here. But it is, Carl Weber said that politics is the art of drilling on hardwood and not giving up. We have to continue drilling this hardwood. I wanted to say that we will be changing what we are doing over the next days, really, because we've been listening, we've been building a structure, we've been putting a lot of intellectual work into looking at about 1,000 ideas that were sent to the action tracks. We have a massively complicated and intensive distillation process almost behind us, and we will be coming out very soon with about 25 frameworks for actions. And this is then, and I know that, private sector is about hands-on solutions, about moving forward, about creativity. And I'm sure that on these 25 action coalitions, we will need you in order to roll that out, to improve what we are suggesting, but really to make it happen. Because, the time of thinking about politics and governance, I think, is over now. We are moving to action, and we know that, nobody is moving faster and more creatively than the private sector. So back to you, and thank you very much for the opportunity.
Excellent points, Martin. Thank you for that. Yes, the work is just beginning. There's a lot ahead. Next, I'll call on His Excellency Yaya Olaniran, Chairman of the Open-Ended Working Group on Agroecology and Other Innovative Approaches. Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be part of this conversation. I think nothing is more important now than to put into practice local knowledge, look at local cultivars, work on them with all sense of sincerity, bring to play what looks like little in some quarters, but what can change dramatically millions of people, particularly the smallholders, and give them the life wire that will make the produce get through the value chain into actual profit-making enterprise. Funding is important. Research input is important. The government support, and when I say support, it's such that it has to be well organized. No shortage of resources, timeline followed closely, and providing that aspect that the private sector will not be able to provide. That should be provided by government. After all, when the population is making money, the government is relieved. When people are eating well, plant-based food, for instance, there's less medical expenditure. When you can sell what you produce, you can eat what you produce locally, there's less carbon print. The environment is important to us. The attribute of every individual being able to have the dignity of labor at work, using innovation, whatever type you want to think about, to improve the efficiency and productivity will be part and parcel of the increment of better life, better development. We have a world that everyone is now conscious that silos cannot work. Now, working together, we now have to, like Martin Frick said, distill what is doable and take it appropriately to the grassroots for the operators. It also means that the operators have to be part and parcel of this journey. It cannot be imposed on them. They have to be part of the conversation. They must be part of the headache and also the opportunity to look back and say, it is good that I'm part of this. The world has to be one in every sense. It's not just not leaving somebody behind. If every community is given the wherewithal to work and successfully work to be productive, to lift people out of poverty, then the world will be a better place. I just wish all of us a successful, not only summit, but a successful implementation, which means years to come, we still need to roll our sleeves and work. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I really appreciate those insights. Thank you so much for that. I'm now going to move it over and call on Manuel Otero, Director General of the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation, IICA. Manuel, over to you, please, for a quick couple of minutes.
Thank you, Rick and Rubin, for the invitation to participate in this important conversation with the private sector mechanism to the U.S. Committee on Food Security. Being the Director General of IICA and representing the Ministers of Agriculture of the Western Hemisphere, I have been insisting in the last months around three key premises. First, farmers must be front and center at the summit, and we must develop policies and programs that are farmer-centric. Second, science must determine any policies that are supported. Sure, the summit must be aspirational in trying to find game-changing solutions to our climate crisis, but anything we do must be based on firm scientific foundations. This is, in our opinion, the best way to reduce the changes of having a new generation of non-tariff barriers. And last but not least, agriculture must be viewed as perhaps the most important solution to this crisis, since it is the only strategic sector in which the possibilities of mitigation and adaptation to climate change converge. So instead of blaming the sector for all the problems limiting a more sustainable development of agriculture, innovation must be highlighted, embraced, improved, and supported with funding, a new agenda, and a reinforced public and private alliance. So thank you once again for the opportunity. I am ready to work. For us, the words like intercooperation, the generation of supranational goods are part of our agenda. So once again, thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Back to you, Rick.
Thank you, Manuel. Appreciate your thoughts on that. Excellent. I now want to move quickly to Christine Gould, CEO and founder of the Food for Thought and Food Systems Summit Champion. Are you there?
I am. Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to kind of summarize the very rich and energizing discussion that we had in the market access group. We talked a lot about what the previous speakers highlighted, the fact that we need locally relevant solutions that are developed with the needs of users in mind, leveraging, mindsets like human-centered design that are, very much used in the technology sphere. How can we apply that more and more in the innovation approaches that we're bringing into food and agriculture? We talked about the opportunity that digital tech provides. It allows us to go local and global at the same time. We need to get platforms that allow people to work together, but on those platforms, we need to ensure data sharing, interoperability. We need to build communities that are focused not just on sharing technologies, but on sharing know-how, best practices, and failures. This will accelerate innovation efforts and reduce inefficient duplication. We also talked about how digital can connect vertically, allowing traditional knowledge to be connected with high-tech, cutting-edge innovation. It can also connect horizontally across the value chain. So this is a real opportunity, of course, from digital technology, but it also comes with challenges. We need to build business models that are inclusive and ensure benefit sharing. We talked about science and technology, how the tools and tricks are being democratized, how people everywhere are taking some of the most high-tech R&D programs and using them in makeshift labs all around the world. But of course, this brings challenges itself. And we talked about the need for regulations that are empowering and also harmonized and coherent. We also talked about the fact, and I thought this was a very interesting point that generated a lot of discussion, but the issues and challenges that we're facing are massive and existential. But we're often so prescriptive on the science and methodology that we need to solve them that it causes inertia. And so the quote was, "We can't let perfection stand in the way of progress." And that's just something to think about. And finally, the mic drop moment that happened right before we were brought back into plenary was a point made that we need to find ways actually to change the attitudes around innovation so that we can be more entrepreneurially minded and experimental, even at the institutional level, not just at the innovator level. So this was, some of the reflections that we had. I found it very energizing. Thank you very much for the chance to report back.
And thank you, Christine. It sounds like you had a very robust and extensive discussion in there. Look forward to reading the report in more detail. One more here. I'm going to call on Stuart Oda, CEO of Alesca Life. Stuart, you have the floor for a couple of minutes, please.
Yes, thank you so much for having me today. And I really enjoyed the various conversations that were they're going around today. Yeah, just very briefly, my name is Stuart, and I'm the founder of Alesca Life, and we're an agricultural technology company, and we develop precision farming solutions. I just wanted to briefly share Alesca's startup journey, and this kind of goes into the innovation ecosystem discussion. But I really want to focus in particular about the support that we've received from this innovation ecosystem. We've actually been a part of 9 accelerator programs around the world over the past 4 years. Ranging from fully virtual corporate programs to 12-week in-person government-sponsored programs, as well as programs in developed countries like the US and the UK, as well as programs in developing countries like China and the United Arab Emirates. And finally, sector-focused programs in agriculture, as well as more industry-agnostic programs. And I'd like to very briefly share 3 things that we've gained and 3 things that we've learned. In terms of the gains, agricultural dialogue, this has been brought up several times before, but it's often highly siloed and geographically segregated. And these global accelerator programs help to bring companies and innovators from around the world. And what it did is it led to an incredible cross-pollination of ideas. And many of these ideas from some of our peers in Australia, in Ireland, in Israel, all these have become core competitive advantages for our team here in China. Another thing that we gained is we gained market entry into new geographies through these programs, and also faster expansion that we accelerated in our existing markets, which has been very exciting for the expansion of our team and our products. The last thing that we gained really is not only that did these programs help to amplify our message, but really from an operational perspective, they've helped engage potential hires. We made incredible technical hires and closed incredible strategic partnerships through the support of these programs that really understand our challenges on a day-to-day basis. In terms of learnings, really one of the big key things is, business as usual ended in 2019. And we had to really adapt accordingly. And through our continued engagement, how to act accordingly has been very helpful to learn these things. And while a lot of interest up to 2019 was in food tech, which was more focused on consumer convenience, we were finding that in 2020 and beyond, a lot of the focus now is on agri-tech, which is more about community resilience. And this has been a very exciting trend for our team as an agri-tech company. The second thing that we learned is that innovation does not mean invention. We're finding that a lot of companies are incredible at system integration, and their innovation is on the business model side or the sales and marketing side. And these are leading to faster growth for them. They're leaner companies, and their impact is significant, which is very exciting. The third thing that we learned, and maybe this is the most transformative, but also maybe the most eye-opening, is that agriculture and food and production is not a zero-sum game. So global populations are rising. Climate change is making our challenges always ever increasing. And given this reality, active collaboration, even with our competitors, our direct competitors, have become a part of our everyday dialogue, which is a very exciting trend. So, I'm really happy to speak in more detail about these things offline. And thank you very much for having me today.
And thank you, Stuart. Great information and very intriguing. I look forward to hearing more about that at another time.